Hey yo YouTube. In our last session I left off where we were still dream walking. A few things either I left out or got wrong. One was I forgot to mention that the spectators couldn't see us. Um, Although other times when we dream walked they couldn't see us either, but I don't think we were able to interact with them with like we could this time. Um, Also, I said Deep Gnome was a random, which apparently he was on purpose. I do still believe that the alien that cut his string is random though, and also he didn't serve the Crimson King. He served the Serpent, who used to serve the Crimson King. Um, So we start off with a DM pretty much telling us that the announcers of the circus are like, oh, see our invisible fight show that we just came out with. Like, tell your friends, stuff like that. Uh, Onyx Guard, not exactly sure what's going on, picks up a body and drops it. And they're like, ooh, they're like, see, look at our performance. I tell the DM, like, if I was a more asshole character, I would throw the dead body at her or something. Uh, I do know Raw Right goes searches the tent that Armor Ready was in. He finds some like generic tarot cards, and everything else in there is pretty much fake. He doesn't find any gold or any. Beck does like tell Nina like, does she want to take any of the samples of the vampire stuff like that? And they kind of criticizes her that like, why is she the one that always brings this up? Because it's true. Like almost every time Nina's doesn't really seem to think about it after we kill something like this, and then Beck brings it up. And it's like, oh yeah, um, I know they end up taking the gulag fish. I want to say they take like two of the vampires. Uh, Eventually, she gets the idea that she's gonna prepare her spell to shrink something. If I would have really thought about it, I would probably asked her not to do that because spending time in the dream walking takes up a lot of time in the real world the last few times we were there. And I want to say before that is whenever we start talking about heading back, and like Onyx Gar says, like every other time we either just woke up or Armor Ready led us the way. And Nina's like, after Onyx Gar says that, I ask everyone to look for Pauls. Um, we've never seen Pauls unless we were walking out through the doors through the ways, and so I didn't make Onyx Gar or Roll Right do that. Eventually, I did make Raw Right walk into the crowd and start pickpocketing people. Um, I got two of them successful, and then the third one, I think I rolled a 16 with advantage, and since I was invisible or whatever, uh, and like the guy's like turns to someone like, "Hey, did you just try to pickpocket me?" And the other guy's like, "No." And then as they're talking, I say, "I purposely touch his side again." And the demon's like, "What?" I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Which side?" I say, "The same side." I touch him in the hip. And then the guy's like, "Huh? What? Like, did you touch me?" I make the joke in Night at the Roxbury joke where the guy's always like, "Did you just touch my ass?" And like the other guy's like, "It's physically impossible for me to touch your ass from here." Um, I say that I just creep away. The DM says I get like 200 off of the two pouches I got. I did get to pick. Um, did get to talk to Raw Rights player today. When I told him that, he seemed pretty happy. He seemed fairly happy with most of the things I said I did. Like whenever I told him that I stole the story of Blade whenever Beck showed us it on a laptop. But speaking of stuff that may or may not do with Raw Right is that he's talking about, or he's been talking to the other Wimics that have been in our squad outside of Onyx Guard about if they may or may not want to go into the the circus where they compete in fighting. They said now, ever since we shut it down, the gladiator pit's the closest thing is the circus, and they tend to have like fake weapons, so they're not like killing each other and stuff. And last session in one of the tents, we saw a bunch of those fake weapons, and I asked the DM if I seen any that were large and stuff like that, what the Wimicks tend to use, and he said yeah. So when the DM says that, ask if we do anything for the next hour, because like I said, Nina's doing preparing her spell. Uh, I say, yeah, we're all right goes down, and we're all right. Him and Onyx Guard go back down to the menagerie and take a couple of those fake weapons. Um, at one point, Onyx Guard did say, like, let's go find those little gray men. And when we're down there, like those Raw Right and Onyx Guard end up finding them because that's where they were at the first time. And we tell them we were able to save Armor Ready. They say that they were watching. I did rewind it back a little bit. I did forget to mention that whenever we were before Onyx and Rawrite came here, uh, between Onyx and Ivan, where they're standing, a paper airplane flies by, and I say Erotic Scar rolls a reflex check and snatches it. And when I opened it up, and like the DM's like, by the way, y'all don't know what a paper airplane is, but I kind of figure, well, I'm a cat, so I'm gonna snatch something out of the air, and I do say, crumble it, and then I pass it off to Nina. And Nina ends up reading it. The DM puts the what the letter is in our group chat, and the letter says, "I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you are messing with powers you cannot begin to comprehend. The soul has been marked. There will be other opportunities, but in the future and in the past, you cannot be all places at all times. Give up now. You now have your own concerns to be worried about. You have inserted yourself into the preview of the little bald doctors. At least one of them will not forget nor forgive this. You have been warned, the serpent." And I want to say before this, also, the gray doctor that was a random showed up and said, so started griping at Nina again. And Ataku or Apollo ended up shooting it with its bow. And like it just like griped at him and then ran off. Like Onyx Gar said, he must have really wanted that cat, and Beck was like, I think it's more than the cat. I was like, well, it is now. Now back to the little gray aliens, which we learned are the little bald doctors. Pretty much they say, because we ask if they know any way for us to get back, and they say we don't know how you got here. We don't know how to send you back. We don't even know why you're able to see us. And you're probably never going to see us again after this. I want to say for the most part that they really they're really hesitant still on giving us information. Like last time, they say it could mess stuff up. Um, so I want to say they just leave, and then as me and Rawrite head back to the rest of the group, we see Admiral and the cat that the random bald alien was chasing, and like I greet him and I tell him how this time it seems a little different, and he's like, how? I'm like, well, first of all, we haven't seen you till now. I think I mentioned that we met Armor Ready for the first, or she met us for the first time. Um, we might say a few more things, but I do know that we're all right to saving the world. And then like Admiral was like, yeah, y'all probably did. Like if Armor Ready would have died now, this world would have probably got destroyed, and probably so of others. Um, it tells us that we could either wait till we wake up, or we could follow him, and they'll take us to someone that Onyx Scar has met before, and they will be able to give us more answers that the little bald doctors weren't able to, or weren't allowed to. So we go to the rest of the group, or Onyx Scar goes to the rest of the group. I want to say the rest of them stay there. Um, I tell them what's going on. Of course, Nina's like, information is useful. So we head back, and then Admiral, I believe, leads us to the ways, and we start walking through the ways again, which is pretty much the other side of the doors. Like there's some kind of like tunnel thing. Eventually, we travel all day, take a break, and and I'm pretty sure I've talked about Nina or Beck's bugs that heal, that have healing powers, but I don't know how much I've talked about the bag in previous videos, where she has a bag where random stuff sometimes comes out of it, and like once a day she could pull food out for almost for everybody. Onyxgar never eats it though, because he feels like that's too late comforts. Um, and this time she ends up pulling out like a thing of Crown Royal. So it's like, well, we're gonna end up drinking all night. Rawrite ends up asking to pull the laptop out and watch some movies. I want to say again she goes with vampire stuff. Like I want to say she watches. We watch John Carpenter's Vampires and Interview with the Vampire movies, and I tell him about the second one's garbage. I want to say he even pulls out the books on the laptops. Um, Next day we get up, start traveling, and then the DM puts up a map on Roll20, and let's old school DSP this and check it out. So we start off in this hallway, and initially Onyx and Nina are out here. Um, these guys are around the perimeter, like they're not where they're standing there yet when we first get there. So at first, the DM tells us that we all got a surprise round. Um, Roll initiative. Rawrite rolls a 20. Um, you can more or less. So like we see these creatures and these like werewolves as Onyxgar and Nina come in further, and we see them fighting this half fiend who Onyxgar met before. He met the male and female whenever he died. And these creatures, the DM says they have translucent skin, and they're wearing like scale mail, but it's like wraps. Like it's just like a mummy wrap, like all around them. So at first I say that Rawrite, being he was number first initiative, he does or he does haste, and then when it goes to Kuhaku's turn in initiative, the DM mentions that all this fog of war here is like walls, so only Onyx and Nina could actually see anything. And uh, Kohaku's player ends up saying, or Nina's player ends up saying, then only Nina and Onyxgar should get a surprise attack or surprise round then, and the DM goes with it. So it jumps to Onyxgar. I end up initially shooting arrows, I want to say, at this one. Um, Nina does some spell. Then once when we're done with that, Nina, because like there's a whole crowd of them up here, and Nina says she does chain lightning on all of them, and including the half fiend. I guess she didn't catch that they said they were fighting against her. Uh, at first, I didn't catch that she said that, and then whenever she's like the player is going through it, like making sure it all lines up. Like I see like they're targeting her, and I say don't hit the half fiend, and the DM says he already said he did it. And she ends up passing her saving throw. I think she only takes like 15 hit points. And then once when it gets back to Raw Right, I want to say this time he actually runs up forward a little bit and then casts his haste. Um, the mob starts coming down to us, as you could see. Like, I want to say Kotaku is there for most of the while we're dealing with this area. And then I know when it gets back to Nina, the DM makes her roll a spot check, and then he points out again that they're uh, they're fighting against the half feed. So then the player realizes, oh, I kind of messed up. I know eventually Onyx makes his way up here, starts fighting this one, and we kind of get bottled neck because, like, Kohaku says he can't get around him, which I think he might have been able to. Uh, and I'm pretty sure this is the route both of these two go. Like, that isn't just where they're standing after the fight ended. Like, I believe those two went this way, us went that way. Um, Raw Right's a little higher. Like, I know at one point Raw Right shoots out. I want to say it's this one of those two before they run up closer to us. Um, Eventually, we're down the mob. I know the last one ends up kamikazing himself at Onyx Scar. Um, I want to say I do a reflex save. I only take like 19 points, if even that, and the mob's cleared. So after the battle, Onyx Gar approaches the Halfing because, like I said, I've met her before. I tell her that Admiral sent us, and she's like, "Why did Admiral send you? Is something wrong?" And I tell her that we are dream walking, and also Admiral told us uh, that usually we're more dream walking than we are this other thing. I can't remember what the name is, but that's why we were able to touch stuff. Uh, she was familiar with it whenever I mentioned it to her too, but they said that time's a lot faster than the other one than dream walking is. So whenever we get out, we're probably gonna be evened up with something called the alignment, and supposedly, after their alignment, they're not going to be able to help us as much as they've been helping us. Um, they also said that the reason why we were traveling for a day, unlike other times, is because since Admiral guides us, we get through it a lot faster. Um, like I said, she asked what's different. I kind of name off the same stuff that I named off the Admiral. And eventually we do mention the little bald doctors, and she doesn't know what we're talking about at first until I start bringing up the purpose and unpurpose. That's when the DM kind of clears up that, which I kind of knew, but it was so late um, that, like I said, I just it didn't click right that Deep Known was an unpurpose. So for some reason, since what's his name was a random cutting him, I thought he was a random whenever I repeated it. Also, I asked something about there not being gods in this world, and the DM didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, "Well, you said that the hidden ones and something from another dimension were at war because there were no gods." And he was like, "There were no deities." That's what he said, which not really much of a difference. She tells us that we should go speak to her brother, because her brother knows more about the purpose, random, and unpurposes. Um, I want to say we also do mention to her that we've been noticed by the serpent, which I guess she's familiar with. And since last time, like I said, there was a few things since it was 4 in the morning. We didn't really get right this next session. The DL decides let's wrap it up here because he doesn't want for the same thing to happen when we go talk to her brother, where we're not really remembering stuff. Uh, Predictions. I think we're gonna keep dream walking. Of course, we're gonna go talk to him. Might wake up, might not. I don't know. I think there's a good chance we're gonna continue doing what we're doing next session. You want to know? Watch the next video. You want to know the whole story? Watch all my videos, and check you later.